Hi guys, sorry I haven't been checking in. I've been like completely overwhelmed with blessings lately, and one thing right after the other. I was a little cramped in my trailer for a couple weeks too long and couldn't figure out what I was going to do with my leather stuff. I needed a place to put it, and it was taking up space for just regular home things. So I loaded it all up. I was going to sell it. I went to go sell it, and the lady asked me how much I want for it, and then countered with, how about I give you a place to set up your workspace and establish your leather shop, and then I also give you a case here where you can display your leathercraft. She didn't ask me for anything. She just didn't want me to get rid of my craft. And so she said, you don't have to say yes now. I wrote down her address on a cafe ticket, and because it was a leather shop split in a building with an ice cream shop, and the leather shop was closed, and apparently there's an 83-year-old woman that just can't keep up with the leather work anymore. So this lady at the ice cream shop, Candy, was nice enough to give me, or let me go look at her shed that's on her property in town in Quartzsite. She said, you don't have to say anything now, go look at it. And I said, okay. I went and looked at it, and I couldn't even speak. And I came back, and I still speechless. And she said, just big smile. So what do you think? Will it work? And that's when I told her, I was contemplating getting rid of it, and I've been hanging on to it for five years now, and okay, God, if you want me to let it go, I'll let it go. And I was gonna let it go, and the first person I talked to gave me a space to set up a leather shop. So I guess the lesson here is you gotta trust in God's plan, and without a doubt, I know now that He's in control, and that He's been guiding me every step of the way. I just gotta listen and stop fighting with Him. So I came back, and I told her the whole story about how I was about to give it all up, and after she'd already offered, and I was in tears, and this woman just embraced me and fed me a meal and said, I need you to go make a copy of this key for me. And I was like, yes ma'am. I went and made a copy of the key. She gave me a copy to the shed, and I moved my stuff in for the leather shop. So just many blessings. And last week, it was Sunday, I was full on the black tanks and gray tanks, so I had to go dump, and at the dump station by the freshwater point, there's this teenage kid sitting there, and I dumped and then moved to the freshwater, went to fill up freshwater, and said, how you doing, young man? And he said, oh, I'm doing good, how are you? I said, oh, I guess I'd be doing better if I remembered my water hose. And he laughed, and I left and came back, and he was still sitting there, and he said, did you remember your water hose this time, sir? And I said, yes, I did. What the heck are you doing out here? And he's like, oh, I'm waiting for a ride. And he's like, well, where do you need a ride to? And he's like, oh, they come pick us up. They're picking me up for church. They pick up the youth group in a van. I was like, as I'm going to dump my tanks, I've already decided, like, today's the Lord's day. I need to keep it holy. I'm listening to my praise and worship music, and I've already prayed and stuff, and it was just what I was praying for, that, you know, a door opened. It was hey, he's going to church, and I asked him what church, and he said, Arise, and I said, okay, it's right there in Quartzsite. So I left the dump station with my camper and went to church, and I was just welcomed. Everybody was extremely friendly. Everybody was nomadic, or at least had lived the nomad lifestyle at one point. And it was just a very friendly, godly place. And then I went back that night for a potluck, and I got to speak with the pastor a little bit about volunteering. And that's kind of how the whole sheepdog thing came about. Is I've been trying to fit into a congregation, like, just about everywhere I go, and it just hasn't been working. And, you know, they are treating me like sheep when I'm not a sheep. I'm a sheepdog. Like, I will live along the flock, but I don't exactly do sheep things. Even though, like, I will follow and I will keep people safe, but I got to speak with him on those terms of, you know, what my purpose is in this world, what God's called me to do. He did not send me to the worst parts of the world and make me one of the meanest SOBs on the planet for no reason. For me to just struggle with it for the rest of my life. For me to never be able to have that outlet and no longer have that purpose of being a guardian and a protector. So I spoke with him a little bit about that, and he was more than welcome. It was kind of just what they'd been needing, and I think it's going to work out. I'm going back tomorrow, and maybe I'll even help out with the soundboard and slides. I'd love to get up on there, help them with the worship team, praise and worship, but if there's a need, I'll be there. I'm not really going to pry into that. So, but anyways, that's what's been going on in my life. On the camper side of things, I made it. How long have I been out here, guys? I don't know. It's been about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. So I made it almost 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, because about 2 days ago, my solar charger dropped down to, in the morning when I wake up, it would be at like 15%. And then the sun comes up and charges it up to like 90, 85, 80, 75 each day. So it would charge it up to 75 and then drop down to 0. So that wasn't working. So it'll last up to, let's say 2.5 weeks. Let's say 2 weeks just to keep it safe without a charge. And then you got to go maintain your batteries and bring them back up to 100. And maintain them for a little bit, and then you can go back out for 2 weeks. So I wasn't going to a park and pay $80 every 2 weeks for a night, or $40, or whatever it is, just to plug in. I just went and bought a generator. So now probably I might have to run my generator twice a month to keep my batteries topped off. And if it gets really hot, I may need to plug my generator in. It's a 4,225 watt generator, gasoline. It's a Predator engine. It's brand new in the box. I bought it used for $425. And my freaking buddy, Donnie Johnson, helped me locate that thing. Even though I did go into California looking for a gas generator, like an idiot, I'll never go back to California again. Anyhow, so right now I have moved my leather shop I moved all my tools into my new leather shop. Now I'm looking for a workbench that I can mount my sewing machine on, or even just a little stand for it, but I will need a workbench for a cutting mat and things like that. So that's what I'm off doing today. And there's also one of the nomadic ladies that I met in Carlsbad who was in a tent, just been wiped out by a monsoon. I had a 6-person tent. I gave it to her, and we kind of kept each other, shared meals and checked on each other and stuff. And she just bought like this 1973 Terry travel trailer, and doesn't have any RV experience. So it's a blessing for me because it's something I feel comfortable working on, making sure everything's good. I can go diagnose all her problems, electrical wise, and even help do things with, repacking wheel bearings, checking her water tanks, all that stuff, air conditioner, refrigerator, just make sure this lady can sustain herself and can move down the road. So she got that thing and made it here to Quartzsite, barely. Blew a tire, just barely rolled in on E, but she made it. So we're gonna see if I can help her out and get some experience by working on her trailer. And then in the meantime, I have the generator, so nobody has power out there unless they have their own generator. But there's no plugs or anything. So there's no water either. You gotta be self-contained. You gotta bring your own energy source and your own water source. And you gotta be able to pack out your own shit, literally, in your black tank. And then gray water in a gray tank. Now that all that's out of the way, now I can throw the generator in the bed of my truck if somebody doesn't have power or is having power issues, which would make it hard for me to diagnose things. Now I can at least plug in to my generator, get power, and test where the dead spots are. So where the dead spots are for all you non-electrical people, and then test continuity ohms and AC and DC, 12 volt and 120, basically, with my multimeter. But also, you got to be able to plug an appliance in and have it run and go through its startup procedures and cycles of functioning to diagnose it, and you can't do it without power. So generator's a blessing, the shop's a blessing. The lady I met that gave the tent that showed up with an old project trailer, blessing. I don't even have the words. Like, I'm so excited. I'm just trying to not mess it up and try to listen to what God has laid out for me. So I'll leave you guys with that. If you don't know Jesus, he's a really good guy. Try talking to him sometime on a personal level. But that's all I got for you guys today. Check in next time. I'll show you some pictures of my leather shop and what's going on with my camper and the project with the RV. So stay tuned, and we'll check in next time. This is Ranger Rooster signing off.